PM clears air on luxury sedans for APEC. China defends friendship with PNG. And Child and Family Services Council launched.
This is the National EMTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Thursday's news. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill says the government will not spend any money on the 40 Maserati luxury sedans which will be used to ferry the APEC world leaders next month. Mr. O'Neill commented on the cars today in Leh. The Prime Minister and Minister responsible for APEC, Justin Tichenko, in a statement late yesterday, both maintained that the cost will be covered by the private sector.
There has been much said on social media in the last 72 hours about the purchasing of 40 Maserati's luxury sedans for APEC. The first consignment of the 20 sedans was flown into Jackson's International Airport on Sunday, and the second 20 landed yesterday. Minister responsible for APEC, Justin Tichenko, in a media statement yesterday afternoon said, having the vehicles paid for by the private sector is the smartest way to have use of the vehicles for APEC and at no overall cost to the state. We asked the Prime Minister about it when we caught up with him in Leh today.
Like many other international events that we have hosted in the past 40 years, there has always been arrangement whereby the private sector will buy those vehicles so that it saves government money, and then the private sector will take ownership of the vehicles after the events are finished.
These Maseratis would be the first ever to land on PNG soil and in such a large quantity also. But who the proud owners are is still a mystery. Mr. O'Neill says the cost is not a concern for the government.
Government is not paying any funds out of its pocket. It will not be out of any funds.
By way of background, the idea of importing expensive vehicles for the purpose of hosting APEC leader summits have been practiced in host countries before. In 2017, the Vietnamese government, through a public-private partnership, imported Audi vehicles to use during the APEC Leaders Week. And in 2015, the Philippines imported 200 units of BMW sedans to ferry world leaders and delegates during the APEC summit. After the meetings, these vehicles were either sold to the public or bought off by the private sector. And this may be the case for the 40 Maseratis now in Port Moresby.
We have tried our best to minimize the cost, use donor agencies to build our infrastructure, and I think that's a smart way of hosting an international event that is going to expose our country and build confidence for our business and investment in our country.
Thakla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Meanwhile, Chinese ambassador to Papua New Guinea, Xu Bing, says the people of PNG and China enjoy good relations and political trust. Ambassador Bing made this comment when referring to recent media reports on the increase in Chinese investment in PNG in the last 12 months. He was speaking at the donation of 94 brand new passenger buses and fire trucks by the Chinese government to Papua New Guinea.
Ambassador Bing spoke of the existing economic and people-to-people relationships between the two countries. He highlighted that the purpose of Chinese investment in PNG is to help local economic development and progress of PNG as a country.
We don't harbor any personal interests. We don't want to have a political gain or strategic presence in this area. Of course, recently there has been many reports on some Western media attacking China's relations with PNG, with the islands country at large. But this totally, false.
The assistance given by the Chinese government in the last 12 months towards the hosting of the 2018 APEC Leaders Summit has been massive. The Chinese government has taken on 4 major projects in the nation's capital to prepare Port Moresby for the APEC Leaders Week. These projects include the refurbishment of the International Convention Center, which has hosted APEC-related meetings, the resealing of the Pora Freeway, and the construction of PNG's first boulevard leading to the National Parliament. National Planning Minister Richard Maru says the PNG government appreciates China's help and is grateful for their continuous support.
I want to also underscore the fact that Papua New Guinea is the biggest recipient of Chinese aid in the region. So thank you again for, in fact, in my view, you've increased and upped your grant assistance to our country. I mean, look at the road you just upgraded. What a fantastic job.
Papua New Guinea is 5 weeks away from the hosting of the 2018 Leaders Summit, and Minister responsible for APEC, Justin Chechenko, maintains that PNG is ready to host the 21 world leaders and their delegates who are expected to arrive in Port Moresby in November.
We all work together for one aim and one objective, and that is to have a most successful APEC meeting where all the world leaders will leave our country as new ambassadors to Papua New Guinea, saying how wonderful and what a great time they had here in PNG.
Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
The first ever board of the newly established Lae City Authority was sworn in today in a historical move for the Morobe province. The Lae City Authority will now be able to manage its own affairs, collect revenues and deliver services under a better structure. Its powers will be similar to the NCDC, but its focus will include the 9 districts of Morobe.
After 12 months of internal wrangling and a series of decisions and counter-court orders against the new management of the Lae City Council, Lae has finally a city authority in place. The board was sworn in this morning, the occasion witnessed by the Prime Minister and other Morobe MPs.
And our vision in the last term of Parliament, as I've explained on many occasions, is that we cannot build cities right across the country everywhere. Firstly, we can't afford it. And secondly, there's no population. I cannot build a city in my own district of Yalimupange, even though I want to, but believe me, I can't because we only have 120,000 population. That is why this concept of 4 cities around our country where they become service centers for our country and our people. These cities are heavily populated. This is Port Moresby, Lae, Mount Hagen and Kokopo.
The original concept was designed by the former Chief Secretary, the late Sir Manasupe Zurenok. But it took several years before the first attempts to implement it happened in the last term of government.
Our government's role is to support them over the next few years, making sure that we build the right infrastructure and giving them the operational support that they require to make sure that the services are delivered properly to our citizens.
The going hasn't been smooth. After taking office last year, the Lae MP requested for audits by the Intergovernment Relations Department. The audits found widespread abuse within the City Council.
It is time to put aside those petty Morobian politics and work together for the betterment of our people, the people who voted us in. It is time for us to pay tribute to the taxpayers, the business houses of Lae, the people who pay taxes to our country and run this place. It is time for us to stand up and make changes. The Lae City Authority is the right way to go.
Changes in Lae and of course continued infrastructure improvements in Lae will not only serve Lae City but also serve Morobe Province and the entire country, particularly the roads that are linking up to the highlands and in Medan.
Now with new talent on the City Authority Board, the Lae District hopes to improve revenue and improve services. The Prime Minister's visit to Lae has also highlighted various important projects set to happen over the coming months, and this includes the completion of the Lae-Nadzap Highway and the construction of the new Nadzap Terminal. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Lay.
Workers from the Lands and Physical Planning Department in Port Moresby were prevented from entering their office today by frustrated landowners. Landowners insisting on compensation payments gathered in front of the Lands Office with banners and petitions demanding to be paid.
Frustrated landowners gathered in front of the office entrance, stopping workers from entering the building. The landowners are from different parts of the country who share the same concerns of getting their land compensations. They packed the front office waiting for a response from the department. Police personnel were present to calm the situation before Lands Department Acting Secretary Oswald Tolopa walked out to address the crowd. The landowners want to be paid their claims before the APEC meeting.
Okay, department, minister or prime minister, like payments before APEC, payments for all claims were genuine, all working, vetting, okay, this la finished, genuine, people talk, pay before APEC.
Lands Department Acting Secretary Oswald Tolopa says there are different claims that have been given to the department. He says the land claims will be screened by a committee who will then notify the landowners.
The process that has been taken with an established screening committee in the department, chaired by a chairman, and they are looking through all those claims which they are following up on. Gone are the days that they've been coming and seeing different officers. Now everything is with this special committee, the committee that has been tasked to screen all the claims.
The department hopes to resolve the legitimate claims and claims that need to be verified soon.
I know that among these landowners, they have some legitimate claims, but they are all in a group where we need to properly just ensure that we address them properly, that we are not saying that they are going to be separated. We want to make sure that they are all in one, and we will separate those claims that still to be properly verified, and those claims that have been verified, we'll do the listing and request for funding.
With the landowners' demands of getting paid before APEC, Tolopa stressed that the screening process will take a while and that many may receive their payments in the first quarter of next year.
Maybe the first quarter of next year, because it's a process. But during the period, hopefully we will be able to identify some of those legitimate claims. Even right now, with something that needs to be given by the committee chairman, that has to go to the minister, and minister will announce the listing that have been verified and are deemed as legitimate claims.
Elijah Levet, National EMTV News.
Here with Thursday's news. Among stories after the break, a council launched to deal with the Lookout in Picaninny Act, and 4 policemen sentenced up to 12 years for the death of a youth in 2015. Stay with us. Welcome back. The new Child and Family Services Council will now oversee the implementation of the Lookout in Picaninny Act. The council was launched today by Minister Soroi Eoe and coincided with the swearing-in of the council members. Heading the council as the chairperson is Youth, Community Development and Religion Secretary Anna Solomon.
The newly launched Child and Family Services Council is made up of representatives from the government, private sector, NGOs and faith-based organizations. During the launch, each member was handed a copy of the LPA and regulations. Community Development Secretary and Council Chairperson Anna Solomon said the launch was a milestone for the Office of Child and Family Services as well as the government. She also highlighted the fact that the Child and Family Services Office is no longer under the department and added that having its council now paves the way for the office to push for a minister of its own.
I won't be a lone voice. We have a much stronger force now. We'll be sitting together and discussing issues that affect our children. We will advise NEC, we will advise the minister, we will advise Parliament on any recommendations, any solutions that they need to help the relevant agencies or children or organizations that work towards
The Lookout in Pikinini Act was passed in 2015 in the floor of Parliament. It is based on the Convention on the Rights of Child and extends protection to all children, including those affected or infected by HIV and AIDS, sexually and physically exploited children, children affected by conflicts, and children with disabilities. The Council will now advise ministers, departments, and the government on issues affecting children.
Whilst the establishment of the Council is called for by law, it is already a great demonstration of our partnership going forward. Together we are a strong force and louder voice for rights of our children in Papua New Guinea.
UNICEF is a traditional partner of the Youth, Community Development and Religion Department. Representative Judith Bruno commended the work of the Office of Child and Family Services, however highlighted the fact that accurate data of children was still an issue.
Reliable and up-to-date data. There are 150,000 children out of 3.1 children without birth certificates. We are planning without the use of a credible data and evidence.
The Council is made up of 11 members. Each is tasked to study the Act and its regulations and be the mouthpiece that the children of PNG need. Charlene Airy, National EMTV News.
The National Court in Kokopo today sentenced 4 policemen to jail on manslaughter charges. Joe Ngongot, Eric John and David Haro were sentenced to 12 years, while Jack Bemu was sentenced to 11 years. The court, presided by Acting Justice David Susame, found the 4 men responsible for the death of a youth in 2015. The 4 men assaulted Wesley Kenny until his death during a marijuana raid at Warangoi on the outskirts of Kokopo town. Acting Justice Susame, whilst handing down the court's decision, said police brutality resulting in death is becoming prevalent in the country. He further stated that the sentence passed is aimed at educating and reminding police officers to discharge their policing duties within the confines of the law they have sworn to uphold. The court ordered that the 4 men serve their sentences at the Bomana jail outside Port Moresby or be on jail in Medang or any other prison apart from the Karavat prison. 4 brutal killings have been reported in Port Moresby in the last 4 weeks. The most recent was the hacking to death of an adult man near Baruni village earlier this week. Both roads leading into Baruni remain barricaded with stones, wires and damaged vehicles. While the matter is under police investigations, the nearby communities are living in fear. In another incident, a man was murdered at Gerahu Stage 3 over the weekend.
I also have met a case at Coco Village. That is, once again, the young man came out the daytime and they went back home, and the family were concerned about his safety, and they were looking for him. On the second day, he was found to be stabbed and thrown beside the area in Coco area. Police have once again responded, did a crime scene interview as well as manage the crime scene, and the investigation is progressing on that one. Barun Village is the concern because we have a incident where a person working in a shop there was killed by the allegedly villagers from there, and we are on top of it. The investigation is on. We have identified those who were involved in that one, and soon we'll make arrests.
A delegation from the European Union arrived in Goroka, Eastern Highlands yesterday to launch a water sanitation and hygiene or WASH project today. The project will benefit 200 villages, including 9 health facilities and 50 schools. 400 villages will be left out due to funding problems. The project was funded by EU at a cost of 20 million kina. It will be implemented by Oxfam, UNICEF in partnership with Goroka District Development Authority and the national government.
The EU delegates who arrived yesterday include the EU ambassador and UNICEF country representative who will be officiating the launching of the WASH project today. They were met by the Governor for Eastern Islands, Peter Numu, Goroka MP Henry Ame, and the senior officers of the provincial and local level government.
With this program, EU has been very kind to us and given us 20 million. So, as part of our counterpart funding, Goroka district have given 200,000. And each year we will be putting in 200,000 to run this program. It will be for a 5-year.
The WASH project is the national government's 2015 policy managed by the Department of National Planning and Monitoring. The policy aims to provide safe and sustainable water, sanitation, and improve hygiene practices in the underserved rural and urban areas. 4 districts in the country, including Goroka in Eastern Islands, was chosen to be the recipient of this project.
We've got a committee in place, and I think one of the NGO groups here, Oxfam, we're partnering with them. EU has given the work to them to liaise with our officers at the district level, and they've formed a committee. And that committee will basically oversee the running and the implementation of the project. And I'll be at the backstage, making sure that things are run properly, and these funds are utilized and put into good use. So I think this is going to be a big impact project or a program that will deliver to our people.
The beneficiaries of the project will be definitely the rural people, because we have been find it very, very hard to establish proper water supply and sanitation like toilet and all these for our facilities like the village, community village, and school facilities and health facilities.
Goroka's-based NGO Oxfam will be implementing the WASH project in partnership with the Goroka District Development Authority.
The program will only cover 200 villages, and we got 600 villages in the Goroka district. So our challenges will be that 400 villages will be left out from this program.
Julie Badui Owa, National EMTV News, Goroka.
A special meeting of the Joint Supervisory Body meeting has got underway in Port Moresby. The meeting of senior officials from the national government and the autonomous Bougainville government began just before 4 p.m. Chairman of the Bougainville Referendum Commission, Bertie Ahen, was present today for the meeting, with Prime Minister Peter O'Neill also announcing the appointments of former Chief Secretary to Government Robert Igara and Dr. Thomas Webster to the BRC. Mr. Igara and Dr. Webster will join 2 counterparts nominated by the ABG to serve on the BRC under the chairmanship of Bertie Ahen. This special JSB is also set to confirm the question or questions which will be put to the people of Bougainville in a referendum scheduled for June 15, 2019. Agendas for this special JSB meeting include referendum update, referendum question, referendum funding, joint autonomy review, and any other business.
We had a good discussion, and he needs to think about it. And the joint technical team is now meeting. They are clear as to the concerns the PM has. So they will, I think they will resolve it tonight, and we'll meet tomorrow morning. And then, of course, we'll have to announce a date as well. As you know, June 15, 2019 is just an indicative date.
It's a long time coming, and I think it's very, very positive for the progress of the referendum issue on Bougainville, especially when we have the chairman of the BRC here himself, Honorable Bertie Ahen. I'm comfortable in a sense that the issue is being addressed and looked at again, so that for both governments to come up with something, because the agreement is actually a joint creation, and it is very important that the participatory aspect of both governments is seen to be addressing what the people want.
The long-anticipated blockchain Pacific began today in Port Moresby. In his opening speech, NCD Governor Powes Pakop made claim that PNG, and specifically Port Moresby, is ready for the disruptive technology. Blockchain is a growing list of records called blocks, which are linked using cryptography. By design, blockchain is a decentralized technology.
Thank you.
In a first for the country and the region, the Blockchain Pacific event saw attendees from the private and public sector, school children, as well as blockchain stakeholders from across the region. Opening the conference, NCD Governor Powes Pakop, who earlier this year pledged the city's support for the event, re-established the government's intentions to invest in the technology.
As a result of programs like Blockchain Pacific, we will see Papua New Guinea at the forefront of developing cutting-edge technologies for the world. We must not be afraid of technology because it seems highly technical or unfamiliar to us. We must embrace technology as an important tool for development and seek out innovation like blockchain.
In a show of support, sponsors of the event were also present, like APEC SOM Chair Ivan Pomaleo and the Australian High Commission's Councillor Economic, Dr. Shakria Bowman, who alluded to technology not being an innovation, but a simple tool that has to be adapted.
And I understand very deeply that technology is not a solution. Technology is a tool. We use that tool to help solve problems that are ultimately created for, driven by, and solutions for people. It's about people. And so keep that in mind as you talk, because people do things differently. As Secretary said, we are all different, and people come together to create communities and countries and groupings that all operate in unique ways. A tool has to be adapted to those groupings, and it is absolutely amazing what people can do with a tool, because everybody will use that tool differently.
Blockchain acts as an open ledger that tracks every transaction that has taken place with a given cryptocurrency. It cannot be altered. Experts have compared it to a digital version of the book log used at a library, where you can see who borrowed a book and who returned it. Leanne Jarari, National EMTV News.
18 teachers of Talladeg Primary School in Madang told EMTV they were also affected by pay cuts in periods 18, 19 and 20. Deputy Head Teacher Rafael D says they were experiencing pay fluctuations and described the act as injustice to teachers nationwide. The teachers say the Education Department should not make excuses but fix it, adding that teachers make up the largest workforce in the country and deserve better.
More teachers in Madang have reported unexplained deductions to their fortnightly salaries in pay periods 18, 19 and 20. 18 teachers out of the 22 teaching at Talladeg Primary School outside of Madang say the pay cuts have put them under a lot of strain.
Big people from the salary section in Moresby, they have to come good on this because teachers are in a very critical situation when it comes to pay now. They might show their frustration somehow, and things might be getting out of hand. So some corrective measures have to be taken place.
Grade 7 teacher Belinda Bice, who experienced pay cuts in pay periods 18 and 20, says the deductions were too much for her. She says as the sole provider for her family, she was not able to provide food and other basic needs for her children.
It's really a big pain, bones from me straight. And expected to be on duty from 7:45 to 4:06. We are working without being fed well ourselves and even our home too. And to make it worse, if my spouse is not working, I am the only one working, it's a complex thing to handle the family.
Yeah, it really disturbed me from my teaching, as well as I used to pay my bus fees to and fro from school. So at that time, I almost come to school twice a week. because of the pay cut, so I couldn't make it 5 days a week to school.
Most teachers in Madang who were affected by the pay cuts have raised concerns, saying the education department should address their concerns. On Tuesday, 38 teachers of Kusbau Primary School in Madang Town told EMTV they were also affected, while 24 teachers of Goom Primary School have also reported pay deductions. Some teachers received as low as 12 kina, while one got nothing at all. These teachers are part of the teachers nationwide who have experienced pay cuts and were not sure what the deductions are for. Mathaluwis, National EMTV News, Madang.
Two members of the Papua New Guinea Teachers Association in Mount Hagen say Ugwalubu Moana has no legal standing to talk on behalf of teachers about their dilemmas and pay cuts. The members say PNGTA's last election was in 2009, from which the Waigani National Court declared it null and void. Teachers representative David Numbaming raised another issue that PNGTA members have had their salaries double deducted for over 10 years.
These two members are leading the teachers in the Highlands to talk about their welfare after the 2009 election to appoint the new PNGTA representatives was declared null and void. They say there has been no election conducted till today and the court case is still pending. Hagen T Primary School Principal David Numbaming was recognized by the Waigani National Court in 2017 to represent the PNGTA members in the Highlands and talk about their welfare and issues. Numbaming says for the last 10 years, PNGTA has been deducting more than 2% of its members' salary.
Appeal to these authorities to please reimburse fine money and reimburse all these teachers money back, unauthorized deductions you can reimburse to teachers, because now we are going towards the end of the year. There are a lot of activities that we do this part of the time up until December when we close our school.
Numbaming and his colleagues say the recent pay cut is an added burden to teachers after their salaries have been over-deducted to PNGTA for more than a decade. Highlands Teachers President Aita Sanange Kepe is calling on the right authorities to meet and discuss the recent pay cuts instead of attacking each other on media.
We are waiting for that Supreme Court ACA 130 decision to be handed down. Then we will know who is the authority to serve teachers in the country.
The PNGTA member representatives in the Highlands are urging teachers not to listen to the PNGTA National Secretary because of the pending court cases on the legality of his election victory. They say teachers must not go on strike and are demanding Teaching Services Commission explanations. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
You're at National EMTV News. In the news ahead, powerful Hurricane Michael hits the U.S. and America's ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, resigns. Stay tuned for the details. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas, the most powerful storm to hit the United States in more than 2 decades continues to cause extensive devastation. Hurricane Michael has caused widespread destruction, smashing into the states of Florida, the third most powerful storm to hit the U.S. ever. Winds up to 250 kilometers an hour ripped roofs off houses and causing significant damages along the coastal areas. The hurricane now been downgraded to a Category 1 and heading to Georgia.
Hurricane Michael smashing into Panama City. Michael's scale and force surprising many, having suddenly strengthened, passing over the warm waters of the Caribbean Sea. Across the state, packing ferocious 210-kilometre winds, ripping off roofs and sweeping homes clean off their foundations.
I just saw something I have never seen in real life. I saw an entire home taken off of its foundation and rolled down the street.
But Michael was just getting started. A storm surge and torrential rain, a 1-2 hit on coastal towns like Apalachicola.
What's the most surprising and the most astounding, to be quite honest, is how quickly the storm surge has taken over this town. We've seen submerged vehicles. We've had dumpsters floating by us. We've had all kinds of debris. It's frankly just getting a little bit difficult to stand up in these conditions.
And in Mexico City Beach, a deluge. Roads turned into rivers and entire neighborhoods quickly submerged.
It's going to go. It's going to go.
Elsewhere, this hotel awning coming crashing down as evacuees sheltered from the storm, and this tree ripped from the earth. In Gadsden County, it was also a falling tree which caused Hurricane Michael's first fatality. Tonight, power is out for hundreds of thousands across the Florida Panhandle.
Whoa, we're getting, do you see that?
And as people begin assessing the damage, President Trump promising them any and all resources necessary before flying out to a campaign rally. Small armies of response crews are standing by to move in, but it's not over yet. Michael has weakened, but is now thrashing Georgia, the inland state's first hurricane in a century.
America's ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, has revealed she's resigning, leading reporters to question if she's planning to run for president next. Her decision was described as a bombshell.
You've been fantastic, you're my friend, and I just, on behalf of the country, I want to thank you for a great job.
President Trump piled on the praise as he announced UN Ambassador Nikki Haley will leave the administration at the end of the year.
She's made it a very glamorous position. She's made it more importantly, a more important position.
The president brushed off questions about the timing of the news less than 1 month before the midterm elections. Haley said she thinks it's time for fresh energy and quickly squashed widespread speculation she's eyeing a presidential bid.
And I will say this, for all of you that are going to ask about 2020, no, I am not running for 2020.
Mr. Trump said Haley first brought up resigning 6 months ago, but White House officials tell CBS News it was a closely guarded secret, even taking top advisors John Bolton and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo by surprise. The president said he could name a replacement in 2 to 3 weeks and didn't rule out considering someone close to home.
The people that know that Ivanka would be dynamite. I think Ivanka would be incredible. That doesn't mean I'd pick her because you'd be accused of nepotism.
Ivanka later said she would not replace Haley. Haley's exit marks a total overhaul of Mr. Trump's original foreign policy team.
You are going to see a change in the way we do business.
Haley quickly became a star cabinet member and staunch defender of the president, playing key roles in sanctioning North Korea and pulling the U.S. out of the Iran nuclear deal. Last month, Haley penned an op-ed in the Washington Post, slamming an anonymous colleague who wrote a critical op-ed for the New York Times. Haley said, "I don't agree with the president on everything. When there is a disagreement, I pick up the phone and call him or meet with him in person."
You're with Thursday's news. Trukai Sports is next. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The New South Wales under-23 country team arrived in Port Moresby today ahead of their match against the PNG residents. The team had a training session this afternoon at the Oil Search National Football Stadium in preparation for their game on Sunday.
The under-23 New South Wales country side arrived in Port Moresby today and had a soft training run at the National Football Stadium. The players looked determined and breezed through plays with precision. The players are confident in their preparations after having a trial run against the Australian Defence Force team in Brisbane. The team arrived 12:30 p.m. this afternoon, made up of country players around New South Wales. The side is confident of a strong challenge from the local under-23 Papua New Guinea players from the Digicel Cup. Coach Josh Cale says it is an opportunity for the team to give a strong showing against what he described as a tough-built group of players, which the country New South Wales team expect to come strong in hit-ups and tackles. Captain Ryle Thomas says this is a good opportunity to develop themselves as players. He is the only remaining player who played in last year's under-23 team that beat the Scotland World Cup team 50 points to 14 and lost to Samoa World Cup team 40 points to 20. The players mean business and have a host of former Toyota Cup under-20 players and coaching staff made up of former NRL players, a notable one in Bulldogs Premiership winning forward Andrew Ryan. Fidelis Sukina, National EMTV Sport.
Following the Rockstar welcome, Tonga's rugby league team is relocating to Hamilton. The Tongans insisted they had to slip away if they had to focus on creating history.
Mate Tonga starting its campaign off with a bang. And doing it exactly 1 year after this group of former Tier 1 internationals first got together.
I mean, the boys deserved it after last year's World Cup, so for us to get the game against the big dogs in Australia is huge.
Their fans keen to recreate that World Cup atmosphere, which inspired an entire generation. But a kangaroo scalp is the ultimate goal, so while the party raged on, they made a quick getaway to Hamilton before getting to work this morning. A special welcome for new assistant coach Mick Potter, who masterminded Fiji's win over the Kiwis last year.
I really wanted someone with experience and someone who could help the halves, and that's what he brings. He's an ex-fullback, and he's worked really closely with halves at NRL level.
Halves that will need to be in form against the world champions, although having 3 former kangaroos helps.
A team's not impossible to beat, and there's possibilities there, and I think for us it's making sure that we all turn up to play the biggest games of our lives.
But also keeping things relaxed, even if it means marching to your own beat.
It's good to be back. A couple faces that it's hard to miss because it's ugly right here, and Joe, but now it's good to be back. Everyone's enjoying camp so far, day 1.
They certainly made a splash at last year's World Cup and are now ready to jump into the biggest test in Tonga's history.
True Guys Sports continues after the break. Stay tuned.
True Guys Sports.
Welcome back to True Guys Sports. All Blacks' Dan Coles is just 2 days away from returning to rugby after almost a year on the sidelines. The 56 Test hooker will come off the bench for Wellington in the crucial clash with Taranaki tomorrow night.
Dane Coles has wanted to stay out of the limelight ahead of his much-anticipated return to rugby, but that won't stop his teammates from singing his praises.
Having played with him for a few years, it's really encouraging, and I'm really pumped to have him back in the team, and I know he'll bring some fire and niggle off the bench.
And that's the plan, 20 minutes off the bench against Taranaki in the final round-robin game of the Mitre 10 season. It's been close to a year since Coles injured his knee in last November's test against France. Are we expecting the same Dane Coles back as we did a year ago?
Oh, even more. I think, when you're out of the game, I know that I'm only speaking from experience, but when you've been out of the game for so long due to injury, that's all you think about. You always think about how you're going to be better, what you can do better, what areas of your game that you can improve, and you have time.
Fittingly, there's every chance he may come onto the field and pack down against fellow Hurricane Ricky Riccatelli, who wore the number 2 jersey for most of last season. But for Coles, tomorrow night isn't about anything other than back to basics.
In terms of bringing all his flair and stuff like that, I think he'll just be focusing on his role and his core job, nailing the detail. Yeah.
And they leave the flair for you?
Oh, of course, mate. Leave me 100 metres, I'll try and make it, so.
Flair or no flair, rugby fans around the country will just be glad to see Coles finally back out on the field.
And that ends True Guys Sports, where the details coming up next.
True Guys Sports. True Guys Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
Look at the weather forecast in the southern region. Mostly fine in Port Moresby, fine in Daru, Kerama and Alutau, and fine although cloudy in Popondetta. In the Mamasa region, fine although cloudy in Leh, cloudy with showers in Wau, fine or sunny weather in Medang, showers in Wewak and few showers in Tamanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, showers in Loringa, cloudy with showers in KVN, Kokopo-Rabaul, Kimbe, and few showers in Buka. And in the Highlands region, few showers all across the region in Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi, and Wabeg.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And before we go, Vision City Mega Mall continued with the second day of their trade expo today. The expo was launched yesterday and will be on till the 20th of this month. We took the time to explore the RH and One Talk Reward stalls to get an insight into what's on offer. The RH stalls are located at the front entrance of Vision City Mega Mall and cannot be missed by anyone coming through the revolving doors. Today, the stall had on display products that are mainly PNG made, and the main item on the showcase was Trukai's Hamamas rice, grown in Markham Valley in the Morobe province and 100% locally processed.
We Trukai here, we range our Trukai Hamamas rice grown in PNG, 5 kina 20 there for the price of that 1 kg, only 1 kg we range. For the customer, we'll tell them that they will buy any product of PNG made. They will write their names in the receipt and drop it in the entry box to win the worth of 1,000 kina shopping.
To promote this locally grown rice, the product was set out on a table in little containers and open to shoppers for tasting. The stall has on display several PNG-made products and also runs a promotion. Shoppers can purchase any of the items on display at the RH stall at the Vision City Mega Mall Grocery Shopping Centre, fill in their name and contact details on the receipt and drop it in the box back at the RH stall to be in the draw to win a shopping cart with PNG-made goods worth up to 1,000 kina. The shop likes to give back to their customers, this through their One Talk Rewards loyalty program.
You spend how much you spend and you get something back. You spend and then you get something back. It's 20 kina to register for a new card.
It's better to get it now because from today up until the 20th of October, every person who signs up to get a loyalty card receives a free gift pack.
Today to 20th. The new registers will be given free cinema tickets, one register, one free cinema tickets with some little gifts.
But that's not all. Any member of the loyalty program who shops at Vision City's RH hypermarket or pharmacy, Star Stationery and RH fuel station included and uses their One Talk reward card can bring their receipts to the One Talk reward stall and drop it in this bowl to be in the running to win one of these photo frames or a packet of 250 grams of Bomai coffee. The expo ends on the 20th of October, so Port Moresby residents visit the Vision City Mega Mall before the expo ends and be a part of this. And that's the way it is this Thursday, the 11th of October 2018. From the news team around the country, pleasant viewing. Good night.